It's that time again, baby. We are live. Day after Christmas. Hope everybody had a blessed Christmas. Great time with your family, friends, whoever you celebrated with. Hopefully you had somebody. But if not, hope you had a blessed day either way. I'm excited to bring you to the show today. We were going to kind of take the week off, but, had an important show come up today. And I want to introduce this guest. He's a constitutional attorney out of Virginia. He's been helping J6ers fight over there against that DC corruption, the setup. He'll be talking about probably our two-tier justice system, which some of us know about. Hopefully it'll actually wake up people who hear it from an expert who is an attorney. But I don't want to keep him waiting, so let's hit up Jonathan Mosley right now. I want to welcome Jonathan Mosley. Jonathan, thank you for coming on the show today. It's great to have you.
I'm pleased. Hope the sound is okay. Let me put my speaker down here so it doesn't rattle. There's so much going on. It's like every time you turn around, there's more. It's just crazy. All of 2023 in politics and government and around the world, it just doesn't let up. So yeah, just when you think you can take a week off, things are happening.
You can never really have time off because evil never sleeps. Evil's always going, and you have to fight the good fight no matter what. But yeah.
Well, it does, and we, it seems like it's been just accelerating in a crazy way. And I think that we need education. People need to get to the point where, they understand what's going on. They're not be fooled. We have a lot of institutions that we used to respect, and maybe they deserved our respect. But I think I haven't done any sociological research, but I think that as our country has gone woke, as the society has gone narcissistic and, participation trophies and all these kind of things, the institutions that we used to bank on, they have to hire from somewhere. And so they're not hiring the FBI agents of 1950s. We don't have judges like we did in, say the 1940s, but they have to hire from what's available. And the wokeness and everything else is just permeating, rotting everything. And people have to really wake up to the fact that, yeah, it is that bad. I think at every stage since my mother was in Eagle Forum in the 70s, we have been losing because we're 2 steps behind. We can't believe that it's as bad as it is. Like, well, it can't be that bad. And it's worse than we think it is. So anyway.
Can we elaborate real quick there, John? So just for people, people probably hear that from me a lot, but you being an attorney, what have you seen to kind of help with your evidence wise? Because there's a lot of people who say, the conspiracy theory people, the people who are maybe believe it, but don't really. Can you just give a little examples of what you've been through as an attorney for J6ers or whoever in general?
Well, yeah. And I think that's why I try to explain, people maybe can get their head around the fact that when they see the craziness going on and they realize that's who our institutions are hiring, you see something crazy on libs of TikTok or whatever, and you realize those are the employees that they're pulling into the colleges and the courts and everything like that. But no, it is very, very, very disturbing. I first went to work for Judicial Watch, started by Larry Klayman. And originally, he created that to watch the judiciary. He was so appalled by, even in 1994, by the breakdown in our in the respect and the rule of law that he created it. Ended up going off more after the Clintons and politics. But the original focus was that long ago. He was very worried about the integrity of our courts. And it's very infuriating. And you go in there, in law school and in a legal career, you learn the way things are supposed to be. And then you go into court, and that's not how it works. Nothing is the way it's supposed to be. Nothing follows, the law, the rules. Everything is, I have lost, but I've sometimes won and walked out and I said, I don't know why I won, because all the arguments I made, the judge poo-pooed and shot down. And then somehow, how did I win? It's just crazy. And we're seeing it now, and we're seeing it accelerating. And I think that the American people need to understand that we are getting two-tiered, or, warped. And two-tiered doesn't even hardly say it, how bad it is. A legal system.
Communism and Marxism is pretty much what it.
Well, it is. And people, and again, people, I've been talking on the radio and things about communism, and a lot of people are like, oh, come on, what are you talking about? I thought communism were just people who wear Russian fur hats, or they wear, like, no, communism started in Austria and Germany. The infection took root in Russia, but it's a philosophy, and there's probably more communists in the United States right now, in journalists and law and schools, and like that, than there
Our
are
own governments, for sure.
Right. It's a philosophy. It's a way of thinking. It's not what your fashion choice is, or what accent you speak with. So I think people, I worry that people have a reaction to that and say it's not, that can't be. But let me give you an example. I've been defending. I was defending Proud Boys member Zachary Real from Philadelphia, the head of the Philadelphia cause, and in the January 6th cases, and Kelly Meggs, who was the Florida chapter leader right at the end, he got last minute put in there for the Oath Keepers. And the way that the law is running on this January 6th stuff, it's so bizarre that the lawyers joke about it and call it January 6th jurisprudence. And that may not make sense, but we talk about like real estate jurisprudence, we talk about inheritance jurisprudence. We talk about different areas of the law as if January 6th is its own universe. It's like there's nothing in January 6th that makes any sense in any connection to the real world or the law. It's just its own bubble. And
well, DC is a foreign country too, so I mean,
it's turned out that way, and I don't know what. No, it's really, really bad. And I've seen some things about jurors after they convict people, what they've said. One person was interviewed by Vice magazine. I was able to see confidentially a jury test, a test jury, and what their comments were, and they just didn't follow the law at all. They just, their own comments confidentially in the study, getting ready for somebody's actual trial. That's why I have to be a little vague. Is a trial coming up? Is that it is just that what the law says, what the judge instructed them to believe, to do, whatever, didn't matter at all. It was just their gut feeling. You're like, well, I just feel he's guilty, and that's not what the jury is supposed to do. So yeah, it's a very bad situation there.
Yeah, if you judge by feelings, we're in trouble for sure.
Well, and that's what our country's become to a very large extent. And like I say, how are you going to hire someone who doesn't think that way when most people do? And we've got to get back to logic and things.
So how do we do that? How do we get, like, so for people who are on the out, like, so there's parents I know, I'm one of them, that was arrested at the school board, and we've been trying to fight back, like countersue those people, but no one wants to help us. So how do we beat that system? How do the everyday people, how do parents beat that system?
Well, what we're doing now seems like it's not as hard hitting, but you've got to raise the temperature with the public. The public has to understand. Like I say, I believe that we came back from World War II. I wasn't born yet, but thinking everything's okay. The government is wonderful. We won World War II, and we just didn't pay attention. People have to be taught in detail. No, it's not okay. You can't just watch TV. I don't understand why the whole country isn't up in arms about circumstances like yours. It couldn't be clearer. And so I don't know if, I know people are busy on our side, and they want to think, well, it really can't be that bad. And that's part of the problem. Like with January 6th is, and maybe with the school boards, is people will think, well, that won't happen to me. And one of the things I want to say very clearly with what the question you asked earlier is, we're heading in a direction like, yes, it's going to happen to you. I don't care if you went to the Capitol on January 6th. I don't care if you even noticed there was a January 6th. If this change in our legal system and our culture continues and takes roots, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop with just people who went to January 6th. It's not going to, they might say, well, maybe, I don't know. I don't go. If I went to the school board, I'd be polite, or I don't know, maybe it's not going to affect me. No, it's going to affect everybody, because once the system is able to impose tyranny with all these fictions and games and gimmicks and things like that, why would they stop?
Yeah.
What superhuman resistance to temptation would cause these government officials to say, no, I'm not going to, we'll go this far and no further, especially as time goes on. Now, I could go into a great deal of detail that some of the things that have happened, what's been happening to Trump, there have been trial runs, over the last 20, 30 years. This didn't just come out of the blue. They did these kinds of things to people. They got away with it. Maybe, in some cases, like they tried to gaslight us on Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill and everything like that. Big thing. It didn't work, but they learned how to do it. It was acceptable. At the end, Clarence Thomas became on the Supreme Court, but it worked in the sense that they brought major damage. They learned from their mistakes, and next time they did it bigger and bigger and bigger. And maybe they had no plan. Maybe they were as surprised as we are that they got away with this stuff. But it grows. It's not going to go back in its shell. The more they get away with it, the more it's going to grow. And so people need to be aware. They need to fight back. And
How do they fight back, Jonathan?
Well, they do have to become educated, because we're not enough, and they have to get educated in a logical, specific way, so they can debate it, understand it, see what's going on, not just in a gut emotional anger.
But what happens if you counter with facts and show facts, and you're still arrested? How do you? I know the answer. It's the mob amount of us people need to stand together, because they can't arrest us all. But how do the collective?
Well, I would say that by the time people are getting arrested, we have waited too long. We allowed the problem to fester. It shouldn't have gotten that far, for us to fail like that. But as long the thing is, the people on the left get arrested all the time.
But they get bailed out by the politicians.
Yeah. And Kamala Harris, her staff and her were raising money for bail.
Yep.
Do people realize that? And that's part of where the education value, it sounds like it's not a big, punch to get something done. But as people become aware of the hypocrisy, the discriminatory treatment, I think that makes a big deal. And I think we're in a turning point where all the establishment's old tricks aren't working anymore. They're freaking out. They're blaming it. Trump is a cult. It's all that's because they keep trying things that used to work, and they're falling flat. And we got to make that even stronger, that people understand how they're being fooled. But the thing is you do need to fight back. We need to be better trained. I don't know why we're not taking over school boards. People need to go to Morton Blackwell's Leadership Institute and get trained up and down every level of campaigns. Other people having campaigns. We have a greatly expanded population of our army who wants to fight, but that means we've got this huge number of people who haven't been trained. We've got this hardcore who've been in it for decades. Now we've got people saying, you know what, we need to get involved, but they don't know how to do the training. They don't know how to win elections. They don't know how to do all the training. So on the school board level, I don't know how there's one Democrat left standing in the school board space. I'm baffled by that. But on all these other things, we do have to take those examples and bring them to the people and get people thrown out. And I do think that for example, I have a friend who's been in politics campaign since 70. He was just reminding me, he tells the same stories, how he went, I think they went to an event at Mar-a-Lago or whatever, and they said he tried to train the people on the bus. The media will find the weakest person, and they will interview the person that they think they can make foolish. They're not going to interview the strongest person. they're going to interview the person who doesn't know what he's talking about and says something crazy. And it's just, so he just said, everybody on the buses, tell the media to talk to the spokesman. Do not engage with them. Because again, you have to know these tricks. It's like they're going to, when you go to the school board meeting, and I'm sure you did, we have to, I mean, the fact that people are loud and effective and pushback is important. And it's valid, but we also need to be very, very sensitive to where the line is that you can't cross. Obviously, you can't go beat up on police, for example, like on
peacefully and patriotically. Peacefully and patriotically.
Exactly. And sometimes, life's not fair. These people are scoundrels. We have to have our side videotaping what's happening. It used to be like even decades ago, the idea was that people would go to a protest, counter protest. And it was kind of like commonplace in the political world that a liberal would come up near you and not even touch you and go, oh, and then fall down and blame the conservative for knocking them down. So we have to be wise. Jesus said to be innocent as doves and wise as serpents. And so we need to, we know they're going to be unfair. We know we're going to be lied about. We have to be ready for it. And that means that we have to have our video say, oh no, here's what happened. And that kind of thing.
And Jonathan, real quick, who taught those liberals that, a conservative, like the flopping? Do you know who taught that class for the liberals? LeBron James.
What's that?
LeBron James. He's the king of flopping on the court. So he taught the liberals how to flop and blame the conservatives. It was just a joke. Sorry, I had to say.
Well, it could be.
I was just kidding. He probably didn't. I just had
trying to influence
I was just anyway.
You're trying to fool the ref. Yeah, that absolutely. But so we have to do all this. And of course we
do you know Jeremy Brown, by the way?
He's, I know of him. Yeah.
Huh? He's down here in my county, and he ran for state house, and he's been in jail ever since.
And he was jailed because he wouldn't be an informant.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the lawyers that I was working with, John Perras law firm, have kind of specialized on. Everybody's working really hard. And by the way, calling all lawyers, there are not enough. If you know anybody who might feel a tinge of getting involved, they don't have to be barred in DC because we can waive them in. They don't have to be in DC because most of the hearings are by Zoom or things like that. We need lots of help. And we need lots of donations for those who can't do anything else. But the thing is that
now where can they reach out to you for either one?
Well, I'm working a lot with condemnedusa.org, Trenna Sevens, and also we have the patriotslegaldefense.org, Patriots Legal Defense Fund. And there's more than one, but that's the correct website for what we're doing, patriotslegaldefense.org. And the thing is that so John Pierce Law Firm just happens to be kind of specializing at the moment in cases where January 6 people are charged with the 4 misdemeanors, going on restricted ground, parading, which is ridiculous, being disruptive on Capitol grounds, is misdemeanors. People who don't plead, suddenly they get slapped with a felony on top of it. So they're clearly being punished for not pleading, and pleading, of course, is your constitutional right. So they're going after all these examples and trying to bring it up to the Supreme Court so that they can say this is not because you think about it, a year, 2 years, they didn't. I always say you.
I know what you mean. It's okay. I know what you mean.
People bust on me for that.
I do it sometimes too. So whatever.
One woman in particular, but the thing is that they say if you didn't have a reason to charge them with a felony for 2 years, why now? Why now when they refuse to plead? So if you didn't have the basis to charge them, you don't have the basis now. So that's one of the battles, and that's what happened to Jeremy Brown, of course. And then they had it difficult because what was it? Then they went after him with a separate case in Florida. I think that was the sawed-off shotgun nonsense.
Oh
Something
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
something like if your gun is a quarter of an inch too short, you're a threat to humanity or something. It's like
Yeah.
ridiculous. And I guess he had a ceremonial or grenade. I mean, I don't think it was a real grenade, but this was at his house, not on January 6th.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When they got to this. So anyway, so
So do you know, so you know about the case? I mean, I'm sure they could always use some extra help down there.
I'm sure they could. I mean, Carolyn Stewart is on it. She's damn good. The I knew a guy who was doing some research for me, and he was helping her.
Okay.
But the problem is, we're all just spread too thin.
Spread thin, yeah.
And part of the problem, they're getting rid of it. So part of what's happening, I think, is that we have been unable. I mean, I visualize it, and I don't know exactly how to say it, but if you have maybe trench warfare, we have the headquarters, and then you have lines of trenches out there, and all these January 6 people and others fighting for the grounds, defending things, and they have really been abandoned to a tremendous extent. I think Trump is very, very good. I'm going to vote for him. I'm going to fight for him. We're fighting right now on the Colorado ballot thing, but it doesn't mean it's perfect. He said he was going to help, and I know he's not, because the defendants are showing up at our doorstep needing help. So people have failed to really. It's been a terrible time. People are unsure. Fundraising in every area has been down. I have a fundraising friend who says no matter what the topic is, no matter what the organization is, it's just been, people have not been giving for the last several years.
Well, that's what happens when you go through a recession and then soon to be Great Depression. People, the funds dry up. You can't,
You don't have it. You're afraid you're not going to have it.
Yeah.
Soon. I mean, my thinking would be, if you have $100 and you say, well, maybe I should hang on to this, in a couple of years, you may wish you had that $100.
Yeah.
It can get worse.
Hell, in 6 months, you might wish, when you're in a bread line,
right,
wishing you had that $100 right now to buy some food.
Wish you'd given it when you could have stopped it from getting worse. Yeah. And so anyway, so we've got this thing, and we've been, Stuart Rhodes, the head of the Oath Keepers, has been screaming, that for years, saying if you don't take a stand when it's easy, 10 miles from the headquarters, the enemy's going to overrun the headquarters. In my way of visualizing it, and that's what's happening. They've run all over the little guys, and they're now trying to kill the general, Donald Trump. Yeah. And again, not because he's so great, not because of anything like that, but because he's, if they can kill him, if they can not kill literally, excuse me. I mean, some people are talking about that, and I don't really want to endorse that. But if they can take out the leader, then what is everyone else going to do? I mean, if they can get rid of Trump, they can get rid of anybody, and that's the point. It's not getting rid of Trump; it's they can get rid of anybody. Mm-hmm. That I think is the whole point, and that's where we're at. And it's I mean, I think they've overplayed their hands. I guess I should be proud that the American people are seeing through it. A lot of this, like I say, is like watching a 7-year-old, a 7-year-old boy do a magic trick, and you have to pretend that you're fooled. You're like, yeah, I could see where you put this. And the establishment and everybody else, they don't understand why we're not buying it. But it's a battle galore. So, of course,
good versus evil.
Pardon?
It's a good versus evil battle for sure.
Well, it is, and I think that's one of the problems. The people on our side have been unwilling to see that. They've been unwilling to see that most of the Democrats, they are not just people with different opinions. They're not, and part of the reason why, if you want to believe that the Democratic Party is just a big mix of lots of different people like the Republican Party, if there were anybody good in the Democrat Party, they would have left. Like if you say, well, I can't believe that Democrats are necessarily bad. Well, imagine a Democrat staying in the Democratic Party over the last, 15, 20 years. They're gone. The good people have left.
Same
So
with Republicans too. Republican Party has no balls.
we talk a lot about that. And there's a lot of Republican lawyers who are no better than Republican, establishments. I mean, we have had endless agonizing debates. We have a listserv. We used to have Zoom meetings before the Oath Keeper trial, before the Proboer trial, and we probably spent more time fighting with the other lawyers to get off their couch and and do something. And they were going to talk tough. They were going to do all these things, and then the hearing comes, and they just roll over and ask the judge to rub their belly and give them a Scooby snack. They're more worried about the judge liking them than they are about winning. And of course, that's the same thing as Republican, politicians. Anyway, so
No,
the thing is, I mean, we're not going to get anywhere until we realize that, I don't know. God loves them. God wants to change their heart. God wants to win them over, but only God can do that. In the meantime, our job is to push back, and you don't invite them over for milk and cookies. And so we have to realize that these people really are, Jesus said, turn the other cheek, but that's your own cheek.
But
He never
Jesus
said
also turned tables over too.
yes, absolutely. He whipped people. Jesus whipped people. And, but he never said, turn somebody else's cheek. So if you see, somebody being raped in the park, you cannot say, I'm just going to turn the other cheek. No, it's not your cheek. It's the other person's life. You are equally obligated to go at the risk of your own life.
Yes, that is what being a man is. That's what being a man is.
Yes.
We need more of that instead of filming it with your stupid camera.
Absolutely. So I have to tell somebody, so the thing is you've got right now, of course, constant news. I was watching very closely the attempt to disqualify Trump from the ballot, and we've had some very good results. The whole thing is very messy, and we were all, of course, shocked with the decision in the Colorado Supreme Court. And
really, do you still get shocked in this era? You really get shocked still?
well, you want to quibble over terminology, but I
No,
mean,
I was just asking because by now, I mean, nothing shocks me. That's for sure. Unfortunately, I was just asking. No,
so I mean, I wasn't shocked at the evil being done about it and the complete hypocrisy.
yeah,
The absolute total hypocrisy of the left. But I was surprised it worked. I'm surprised they got it that far. And part of the problem is that they, I watched the trial, which is on C-SPAN. Kash Patel, I finally got his name right. I was having trouble. He was magnificent. I mean, he talked about, and I didn't even know half this stuff. He talked about how several days, remember, Liz Cheney kept saying, Trump never called on that day for the National Guard. No, he did it 4 days earlier.
well, the day earlier too. I thought to Nancy Pelosi.
I don't know, but roughly speaking, I mean,
Well, I just want to make sure people understand the facts. That's all.
Yes, absolutely.
And Nancy Pelosi denied that request as well.
You know what I was just reminded of just today is I was working with a group called the U.S. Public Policy Council and the White House, or what is it? Americans Against the Obama Agenda. It's changed several times, and we got a permit for the Capitol grounds to present. Oh God, what were they? 100,000 signatures for Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff to be expelled. This was September 2020, and so everybody thought and somebody reminded, and I was part of the presentation. We did it out on the grounds because they wouldn't let us in, and someone from Nancy Pelosi's office was screaming in the background at the police, at the U.S. Capitol Police, to stop us. And he says, "Man, they have a permit." I mean, you can't. So Nancy Pelosi was willing. Her staff's mentality was, "I don't care if they have a permit. Stop them, shut them up." And it's interesting. And that on January 6th there were 6 permits, not 1, 6, for the Capitol grounds. Now it became a complete mess. Nobody knew where the permits were supposed to be, so everybody turned into a complete, I don't know, just jumble. But the U.S. Capitol Police issued 6 demonstration permits for January 6th. Nobody wants to talk about that. So anyway, we get to
Do
the
you
point.
know who the 6 were, other than you guys?
I do. I have to look it up. I mean,
Okay, I was just curious.
Yes, no, we do. I have the permits. We got them in. I mean, the other thing that might be interesting to know before I try to get is that there is a lot of stuff that the January 6th defense attorneys can't show you because they're all under court protective orders. I will describe them, but I can't show it to you.
Yeah.
Even though the trials are over. If it wasn't used, a lot of these videos that have been coming out, we've known about those for a year or 2.
Yeah. Do you know Bobby Powell, a journalist?
I vaguely. The name sounds familiar.
Well, I've seen he's given me a flash drive of it, and then he's actually coming on the show and going to show the real clips that he has. It's way different than what the corporate media has pushed out, for sure.
Well, and you have to have that. It's like the moment where Joe Biggs, Power Boys Joe Biggs, is at the bike rack at the pedestrian gate, which is not a gate. There's no gate there. It's just like a wall this high, and it's a walkway. And if you look at the video from one angle, it looks like his hands are on the bike rack. If you look at it from a different angle, they're not. So you can't just say, "Oh, I saw it on a video." No, that's not good enough. When you have this big crowd and this big mess, you need to look very, very carefully, and that's why we should have our own videos. We did, but that was kind of strange. And remember, the whole way this happened is that Michael Sherwin was the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, the federal prosecutor for the city. He went on 60 Minutes and admitted that his goal in the first week after January 6th was shock and awe. Now that's not, if you really think about it, that's not what the legal system is supposed to do. I mean, it's this whole, we've gotten to this idea, instead of prosecuting crime, we're supposed to anticipate it and shape things ahead of time. And that's not really what the legal system does. But he got on 60 Minutes and says his goal was to go after this with shock and awe. And so anyway, so we got to the point where all these things are happening, and then Kash Patel talks about in the Colorado trial. He talks about how there were multiple conversations about authorizing 10 to 20,000 National Guardsmen ahead of time. And Trump brought it up several times. And I didn't realize that Kash Patel, he was not just a political bystander. He was not just a political advisor. He was like deputy chief of staff to the Secretary of the Army. I mean, he was like right there. And he was involved in these conversations. He was almost in the chain of command. And it kept coming up over and over and over again. And in any rational world, and Kash Patel, I think he was the first witness on the defense side, on Trump's side. I mean, any rational judge, I know that they kind of got to go through the appearances. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But the judge should have said, "That's it. Let's all go home." I mean, how can you have an insurrection where you're willing to call up 20,000 guard for the other side? That's insane. We now know that Officer Harry Dunn and what's his first name, Lazarus, lied. They committed perjury on the court because
Lazarus. That's his name?
His last name is Lazarus.
Oh wow, that's weird. That's like a biblical demonic name.
It is. I can't remember his first
When
name.
you said he lied, that's just it doesn't surprise me. Lazarus lied. Wow.
Right. So anyway, they said they went up there and they said, um, it's a little bit psychological. I'm trying to give the short version.
Okay.
Harry Dunn spends like 99% of his interview with the FBI, which I still can't show you. I mean, it's been discussed. It's out there, but they're. I mean, not only that, the entire system is lying to you. On this crucial point, there's an FBI statement, and they won't give it to you. Oh, and the videos are missing too. You know, the surveillance videos of this incident and others. Oh, we can't find them.
Of course.
And so he says that 99% of Harry Dunn's entire story, and he has gone to conferences. He's writing a book. Other people have written a book. He's gone on there. If you want him to come to your event, he'll come and he'll cry on demand, and just give him dinner, and he'll cry for you, and he'll talk about all these things. And he said, but it's mostly about him. And then he says, well, did the Oath Keepers help you? Well, yeah, they did. He said, well, I don't really, because all of his answer is, I didn't need the help. I'm Harry Dunn. I don't need anybody to help me. I wasn't overwhelmed. I had it under control. And says, yeah, but did they help you? Yes, they helped. Yes, they helped. And so how do you go and do an insurrection and you help the palace guard? If you go there and you assist the guards, how are you committing an insurrection? Anyway, so the whole thing is very, very crazy. So
yeah, I agree.
So we went to the Colorado trial, and Kash Patel basically killed the entire case right there. It didn't matter though. And then they go on and they put on the select committee. Instead of calling witnesses to prove that Trump had engaged in an insurrection, they just put the select committee, the Liz Cheney, Benny Thompson, mostly Democratic. They just put the reports in the court. You can't do that, but they did it, and Trump's lawyers were kind of like, "Oh, please don't do that." And so this judge was not. I mean, I know you can't judge a book by its cover, but if I have to guess, I didn't think she was the sharpest knife in the drawer. So she then finds for Trump. Somebody must have told her to do this. She finds for Trump on the grounds that he's not an officer of the United States, which is ridiculous. But against him in the fact that he's guilty of engaging in an insurrection, most of which has to do with what he did not do.
Everything he's been in trouble for is stuff he did not do.
Right. But even they admit that he didn't. I mean, they admit that he failed to take action. Is their number one grounds for why he committed an insurrection on January 6th, because of the things he didn't do, which actually he did do. There's a tweet at 2:38 p.m. where he says, "Honor the police. They're our friends. Do not." I forget what it is. I have to look it up. It's an excellent tweet. 2:38 p.m. I don't even know if I could. I don't know how to use your system here. I would love to put it up there. I'm still
learning myself. All right, help you.
And then at 2:42 p.m., he sent out a tweet, which they take to mean launching the insurrection, but it says the USA wants to know the truth, and it says Mike Pence was not strong, but it doesn't say to do anything, and then at like 3:13 p.m. he again says, "Stay peaceful. Don't do these things." So
yeah, he always used peaceful and patriotically,
and he did it multiple times.
Yeah, so I remember him saying it for sure.
So he keeps saying that they keep saying that he could have calmed down the crowd, and he didn't calm down the crowd. Oh, and they had this big expert about what he was really thinking.
Yeah,
the left is like big on that. Here's what he said, but that's not what he's really thinking. And so they keep saying he should have done something to calm down the crowd, which he did. He actually did. So anyway, so The judge found that he had engaged in an insurrection, mostly based upon his failure to stop the insurrection. And there's this huge debate about what is an insurrection, when is an insurrection, how, does Congress have to pass a statute? Do they not have to pass a statute? All kinds of hyper technical things and everything like that. So she finally decided he engaged in an insurrection, so that when it's overturned on appeal on this really flimsy ground that he's not an officer of the United States, boom, he's guilty. And it's done. It was an evil but brilliant move. Somebody had to tell this judge, like, okay, find him guilty on everything, and then say he's not an officer of the United States. And that'll take like 5 minutes for the Colorado Supreme Court to say, what, are you kidding? Of course he's an officer of the United States.
He's the highest.
So that flips it back to he's already been found guilty. And so, of course, now it's got to go up to the Supreme Court. Now, I got really involved in that because in the middle of this, instead of calling witnesses, the attorneys in Colorado put on this video production, which was from the Select Committee. They failed to investigate it. They can't do that as a lawyer. They said, well, this is the Select Committee video, so I'm just going to put it on. No, you have to check. You have to investigate if it's accurate or not. And they didn't do that. And they put it on there. In the middle of it, Trennis Evans is on there reading the 242 tweet. So they say that at 2:23, that's just 2:23, they say, looking down from the Capitol dome, everybody's just standing around, they're not doing anything. The lawyer for Crew against Trump says they're just standing around, they're not doing much of anything at 2:23 p.m. And somehow Trump is able to hack into the U.S. Capitol Police security system. Maybe Barron helped him do it or something like that. So he sees that they're not doing anything. So he sends out this 2:24 p.m. tweet to launch them into a campaign of violence. But they can't prove that anybody in the crowd saw the tweet, because in fact the cell phones were overloaded. They were jammed. They were not jammed. I know what you mean. Yeah. Jammed implies an action, an intentional action.
Sure. There was just a lot of action going on for one server, like internet-wise, right, or whatever.
So I mean, people could say they could not make phone calls, they could not get through. Messages can come through hours later than when they were sent. So they're unable to prove that anybody in that crowd that lunged forward at 2:24 p.m. ever saw the tweet. So they used Trennis Evans, who's reading it in his bright canary yellow hat and reading it over his blue bullhorn, and he's reading Trump's tweet. And they said, and that's when the violence began.
However, how do you get committed insurrection without any weapons, though? Isn't that kind of odd?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because nobody had weapons other than Capitol Police, and they actually shot an unarmed United States Air Force veteran by the name of Ashley Babbitt.
Right. But the thing is that it when you listen to the trial, there's so many different possible. God, why is everybody suddenly? I'm very popular suddenly.
You're on the Brian Perras show, maybe.
There you go. So the thing people call it, hey, do you know you're on TV? Like, yeah, I'm here. So the thing is that they have all these different definitions of an insurrection. So they keep debating, what is an insurrection? It's not just that they don't know, it's that they have all these different definitions and these different kinds of. So I'm saying if you have that many different definitions, you really have none.
Yeah.
They should just look, we don't know. And, bye, everybody go home. I mean, if you can't pin down what is an insurrection, you can't proceed. So anyway, so that's what they got. But the thing is, Trennis Evans, who played that crucial role of reading the tweet, that was 2 hours later. The video that the select committee put together is a lie. They fabricated evidence. They say it's at 2:24, and they admit that's when it went from 2:23, everybody's standing around, to 2:24, they're all attacking the Capitol. But that didn't happen until 2 hours later. So there's no way that their argument fits.
But that's when the FBI informants that were undercover instigated the people some people who maybe got caught up by listening to those FBI informants, maybe damaged some of their own building that they own. But still, nothing is an insurrection other than the inside job of the United States government.
Yeah, Brad Geyer, who if I don't know how much time we have, he
We got as much as you want. There's
all right,
no time limit. You
good.
just you put all the evidence out and the things, and we like to let people think for themselves and then take your information that you give, which we really appreciate because more and more people need to hear the reality.
Well, it would take weeks to put it all out there, but
Oh well, we don't. I don't know about it. We don't have that.
but the thing is so in 1970s police movies, there's the buddy cop. Brad Geyer, I liken to my buddy cop, lawyer friend, and he was one of the earliest people, including his obsession with COVID, that really put out the suspicious actors, which is kind of a softened term, the AP, agents provocateur, and he started laying all that because he went into like how can I say it? It's like he was a hermit looking at all the video, and he would not do it halfway. He looked at all the video and he came up and oh my god, what's really going on here? And he was trying to get all the other attorneys interested in agents provocateur. We softened it down to suspicious actors in all the discovery requests, and the other attorneys were like, no, but it's coming out more and more. I mean, I was suspicious at first, but the more you look at it, yes, it's undeniable.
So why didn't attorneys and other agents want to review the evidence? Isn't that their job? Is to review the facts of the case?
I I don't think a lot of the defense attorneys even cracked open the evidence.
Yeah, but I mean, even the judges or the agents, even.
Well, the judges aren't going to look at it until a lawyer brings it to their attention. Judges do not investigate.
But don't. I'm saying didn't the plaintiff, the people who are fighting, didn't they provide the evidence to the judges?
A lot of their attorneys did not do a diligent job remotely. And the thing is, they gave us the government, but the government, on the other hand, intentionally swamped us with unnecessary junk. It's like an old movie called Legal Eagles with Robert Redford and I think.
Bogging down with paperwork and all this stuff.
Right. They pull up a truck behind it and unload boxes of paper to hide the nugget in all the junk. And they admit that they gave us as many as 9 terabytes of information, and the vast majority of it was worthless. But in the there were some needles in those haystacks. There were some jewels in that haystack.
Now, what about that guy that everybody knew his name, but he's had, I think Tucker even show up at his place. I forget his name, but he was a bald-headed guy. He's on camera saying, enticing people.
Ray Epps?
Yes, Ray Epps. Thank you. What's up with him?
We still don't. I mean, they are fighting. The government, the establishment is fighting so hard to keep the attention off of him. Now it was such a huge uproar for years that they finally charged him with one misdemeanor, which is and in that situation it is awfully easy to make a deal, for a variety of reasons, and they put on. It's not hard to put on a show that's not real.
Yeah.
About somebody being pleading guilty to a misdemeanor, and which there is no felony that anybody's been charged with that he isn't very obviously guilty of. There's no felony of any kind that he would escape guilt from if he were honestly prosecuted. I mean, he's up there helping people throw a giant sign at the police, caught on video, as well as a seditious conspiracy and whatever else they want to talk about. So, but it's very funny because at the pedestrian gate when they first went in, he'd rush towards the gate, meaning just some chicken wire and a bike rack, and then he would stop short and back up. He would try to get the crowd to roll forward, but he would not touch the barricade himself. I mean, when I watched all that stuff on Darren Beatty's Revolver.news, Ray Epps 2, the second thing on, and I watched all the video. You have to, fortunately, there's no one place. You have to really go down and look at all the video.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. It can be overwhelming if you don't really know exactly what you're looking for.
Well, my reaction when I watched all this stuff is like, this is not the FBI. This is what the CIA does in other countries. This is the FBI would be amateurs compared to what we watched on January 6th. I mean, I got scared. I got chills watching that stuff and realizing that the FBI couldn't pull that off. But there are those are agencies of government we may not even know about.
Oh, for sure. Now, do you get afraid that they'll ever come after you because you know a lot of this information?
Yeah, but I've developed to the point where I feel like there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, it doesn't bother me as much as it probably should, because I figure like, whatever is going to happen, I can't influence it. There's, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I have my faith in God, and I feel like if there were risks like that, it's too late for to make a difference in terms of
good. No, because the definition of in order for evil to prevail is for good men to sit and do nothing. So we need a lot of men to stand up.
We need a lot more, and I wish we had more resources and those things.
But we have the ultimate resource, and that's Jesus Christ, God, our Lord and Savior. So He can connect us. Like we got connected. Hopefully, people see this, and who knows? I know there's a lot of people here in Florida who are attorneys for Jeremy Brown and just people who are fighting for J6ers. We actually had a Unabomber guy that supposedly had bombs on January 6th of 2022. We were doing a little 1-year anniversary outside the jail where Jeremy Brown was being held, and that guy just got off with a misdemeanor. It's crazy.
I mean, it's hard to believe that those aren't the undercover people.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know who's undercover anymore, man.
I don't know, but it's very strange. So
are you undercover? No.
We in the Proud Boys case, I hope we have enough time. In the Proud Boys case,
we'll end on this one. Go ahead.
There was this. It was hysterical. It was the most insane. Well, I guess the O.J. Simpson case is up there, but I can't. But I mean, the Proud Boys trial was nuts. And when it came to the defense, they have to exchange lists of expected witnesses and documents and things. And then the prosecution rested, so the defense started calling witnesses. And the judge wants to know for planning purposes. He doesn't really have a right to know, but he wants to plan. So he said, who are you going to call tomorrow? And so they say, well, we're going to start off the defense with so-and-so, and then we think by the afternoon we'll get to so-and-so. And the prosecutors would wait until the court convened, which was wrong, and the judge had left, which was wrong. And then they'll go over to the defense attorneys and they said, we need to talk. And so they go off into the lounge room and they tell them that, that witness you have called for tomorrow morning, they're a confidential human source. That like they're an undercover. Now this throws the whole calendar the trial schedule into chaos. They didn't have the guts to tell the judge and let him make adjustments. They do it privately. And it got to be such an absurd, and there were probably more motions for mistrial in the Proud Boys trial than any other case I've ever heard of. And they were like, Roger Roots was like known for every day there'd be a motion for mistrial. And they got to this point where Carmen Hernandez, who, if I ever get in trouble, I want Carmen Hernandez. She's just.
Is that the one that defended Johnny Depp?
No, that was in Virginia, but she's this got white hair and she's in D.C. She's an institution. I mean, everybody knows Carmen Hernandez, and she is not a conservative by any means. So when you pissed off Carmen Hernandez, you have crossed the line. And I usually they have portraits of judges when they die and they put them up there. I imagine they'll probably put Carmen Hernandez up there. She's such an institution. And so she, and the thing is, she was famous for the one who would not stop talking. She would get up there and argue to the judge, and the judge would say, okay, I got it. Okay, enough. And she would just, the tweet mob would just get, she's still talking. But she got up one, and she opened her thing, Your Honor, I want to tell you that I am not a confidential human source, because it was so ridiculous that everybody was turning out to be an undercover person. I mean, there were hundreds of undercover people that they haven't completely identified, but they've admitted. And so, I tried to get everybody, it's like all the attorneys should do that. They should know that I am not a confidential human source. I wanted to make T-shirts, for something like that, and maybe I still will.
Never know.
It was. I mean, in any normal times, if we weren't in a bubble alternate reality of like Alice in Wonderland, that case would have been thrown out. There would have been. I mean, the military courts of justice are a little bit different, but a few good men where the judge takes the witness into custody. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was an outrage a minute, the Proud Boys case. And I don't know what good of a job they're going to do on the appeals, some of these people, but they had these ideas like a tools theory. So there's a conspiracy theory. A legal theory, not conspiracy theory, as in someone is going, has an active imagination, but there's an actual conspiracy statute and charge, and it meets certain characteristics. The people have to agree, they have to take an overt act, but they had this idea that there were these tools, which nobody's ever heard of before, and it's really insulting, and that there were people who just happened to be in the crowd who didn't know that they were part of the Proud Boys conspiracy. And it was just, nobody's ever heard of anything like this. It's insane. And so everybody's going, what the heck is this? And that, needs to go up on appeal. But appeals are very, very hard work. And in a case like this, the problem is the more errors they make, the less time you have in a limited number of pages to attack each of the errors. There's just it's almost like the system, if they make lots of errors, they get rid of them. They get away with it.
Yeah, and plus they use taxpayer funded money too, yet we have to try to have enough money to hire a good attorney to even defend us. It's ridiculous.
And we need a lot. And what I say to people is, because like I say, it's a difficult time for fundraising. And there are some frayed nerves, let me say, about who's getting more money or whatever. So I try to say, do your homework, give to whomever you want. I can tell you some places, but I don't care who you give to, just do something to your audience out there. I mean, if you can give, sometimes they may have a little bit of paperwork to, but give directly to the attorney. If there's a particular defendant that you like, American Gulag at the top of the Gateway Pundit has tremendous amounts of information about individuals. Most of the time, not always, they have the fundraising page. If you like a particular defendant and you say, well, I don't know who this John Mosley is, I don't know who that person is, but I like this defendant, give to them directly. Give to their attorney. Just don't do nothing.
Where can people find you at if they need a good lawyer? Because I know there's myself and other parents who are arrested at school boards who want an attorney that has balls to actually sue the school board and the sheriffs for illegally arresting people for just their free speech. No threats.
Yeah, did this happen in Florida?
Yeah.
With Ron DeSantis as governor?
Yeah.
Jesus. I don't know. Well, anyway, like I said, I'm currently working with, actually 3 different places. The former Feds group with Brad Geyer. You can find me there. We're doing a lot of stuff. I do a lot of work with CondemnedUSA.org, Trennis Evans.
Okay.
He's a January 6th activist. And like I said, I would support the NCLU is mainly supporting John Pierce Law Firm. And
how many J6ers are you guys representing?
about 30.
There's no, and that's just in Virginia alone, or
no, nationwide.
Nationwide, okay.
But I mean, the thing that worries them the most is if we don't find more attorneys, then the lifeboats are being swamped. And I'm concerned that nobody can do the kind of job that these January 6 people need if we're just overwhelmed.
I'll connect you to another one here.
An attorney?
Yeah.
Please, yeah.
Okay, I'll connect you guys in a group text, and you guys can take it from there. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's, it's a labor of love. I mean, yes, we need our cell phone paid for, things like that, but normally you wouldn't hear lawyers saying, I want to share the clients with more people. But it's about saving our country,
Yeah.
And I don't, there is plenty of room in the swimming pool. Everybody, come on.
It's not about greed. It's about doing what's right.
Well, and people really should think that if you make a lot of money in 3 or 4 years, it might not matter. You can have all the money and your country's gone and you got no place to spend it.
Yeah.
So, and as the most crass motivations, at the very least, if not for love of country and love of your children and grandchildren and everybody else.
All right. Well, I'm really grateful to have you on, Jonathan. Hey, I hope you come back. Come back and give us updates. And
I hope I have some good news. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough 2024. I believe people need to buckle up. It's necessary, though, I believe, Jonathan, in order to wake the masses up and in order to get people actually involved, we have to go through even tougher times. And but I do hope people help donate to Jonathan. He is his attorneys who are representing J6ers. So please do whatever you can. He has mentioned it. When I post when the show gets posted, I'll have Jonathan maybe type in on the comments on some of the organizations. That way you guys can reach out to those specifically. All right.
And I don't want to fight with someone and say only this one. Make up your own mind. I don't want to, hold anybody back. But thank you very much. And I really feel like we have no choice.
We don't. It's what are you willing to sacrifice, and not you. Like you told me earlier. I don't mean you specifically. You've been sacrificing, but like you, the people. What are we, the people? You, the people, who have not sacrificed anything yet. What are you willing to sacrifice to save your republic, to save the future for your children's children?
Absolutely.
What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you going to just work your butt off hard right now, and then it means nothing in a year or two? Anyway, Jonathan and people like that need your help. J6ers. Hey, God bless you, Jonathan. Please come again soon. All right, brother?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And that was Jonathan Mosley there. He is a constitutional attorney. We're so grateful that he's out there. God bless you, brother. Thank you for being a hero for all the J6ers and people who are being politically persecuted. We need more lawyers like that. We need lawyers who have the balls and the spine to stand up for what's right. That's awesome. We got Jonathan right there out of Virginia. Where's our Florida attorneys? Where's our Texas attorneys? Where are you at? I should ask them about the Convention of States, if Jonathan's for the Convention of States, and how do we get Virginia involved. But everybody, we need the Convention of States. I know it's getting steam right now. We need to add on to that. We need to pressure our legislators and convince them to do the Convention of States, because we need 36 states, I believe. So in order to maybe save our republic and not have to go to Civil War II violently, maybe we can do a Convention of States, because something needs to change. We can't keep having this two-tier justice system where one group of patriots who peacefully and patriotically protest a stolen election. That's what they were doing on January 6th. The election was stolen. They were there peacefully and patriotically protesting. They had undercover FBI agents and probably CIA agents riling the crowd up, trying to get them to do stupid things. And yeah, you might get a few here and there that do it, but really it was our own government. It's been inside jobs for a long time, from September 11th, from a lot of other events back in the day. So we got to stop this, y'all. We got to stand together. Our Pledge of Allegiance says it. It says, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. And I mean God in spiritual aspect, not religious. Because religion can be very bad and it's dangerous. But spirituality, the Holy Spirit, where God talks to you and through you, that is what we need more of. Now, guys, we got to step it up. I want to give a shout out real quick to my godson today. It's his birthday. Nolan, God bless you, brother. Love you, man. I hope you have a blessed birthday. I will be sending you something soon. Sorry I didn't get it out in time. But yeah, I might be a bad godfather, excuse me. But anyway, everybody, I hope you have a blessed new year. I hope you look at it with gratefulness, humbleness, appreciate what you have. Don't be a victim. Don't be a narcissist. Love thy neighbor. Pray for one another. Pray for peace and healing. We're going to need peace and healing in this world coming soon. But we're also going to need a lot of grace. And so I just want to say thank you again, everyone. God bless you. God bless our constitutional republic.